Hello everyone, welcome class, welcome Ms. Fedorko, and special thanks to Project Officer Matthew Filsinger from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for being here. Big round of applause. Today I'm talking to you about white-tailed deer control in Hunterdon County. Now here's just a brief outline for you. I'll start off with some of the problems that these white-tailed deer cause in New Jersey, not just Hunterdon County, going from health problems to agriculture to on the roadways especially. Now I'll go into what New Jersey has done to combat this, also what other states have proposed, and finally my solution with the budget. Now the problem. You may have seen these little guys before and you may think they're cute, but beware, they are dangerous. There are actually 100,000 white-tailed deer in New Jersey, which is one of the highest populations in the entire country. Hunterdon County is the premier place to hunt deer. Do we have any hunters out here today? I know some of my friends back home are definitely avid hunters, and they tell me all the time, Hunterdon County, you got the deer there for sure. Now the first risk I'll talk about is the risk to health. You may have noticed, seen this kind of bullseye, hopefully not on yourselves before, but it is a sign of Lyme disease. Lyme disease is one of the most common tick-borne illnesses, and the bottom line here is deer overabundance results in an increase in tick-borne illnesses, especially Lyme disease. Now here's a graphic, an interesting graphic, that actually shows the highest transmissions and highest actions of Lyme disease. Look right where we are, right here in New Jersey, is the worst in the entire nation, the highest risk of Lyme disease, and I wonder why that is. Another risk is one to nature and agriculture. See, deer are actually responsible for 79%, almost 80% of wildlife-related agricultural damage. And for farmers, this results in a loss of 5 to 10 million per year. That's a lot of money. Also, if that's not bad enough, 98 threatened or endangered plant species have been ruined and damaged by deer over the past few years. See, deer are grazers, as you call them. This is what they do to eat. They pick a specific type of wildlife or plant species, and they proceed to graze it and completely eat all of it, thus resulting in a loss to a lot of these special plants that they choose to graze. And another major risk is the one on the roadways. Hunterdon County drivers hit an average of 100 deer per month, but during the months of October and November, that number goes to 450. If that's not bad enough, the New Jersey Department of Transportation actually has to spend almost over $230,000 a year cleaning these deer carcasses off the roads. And that's a lot of money that we don't have to be spending. So what has New Jersey done, you may be thinking? This is a big problem. Has New Jersey combated this? Unfortunately, not really. It's sad to say. Deer reflectors have been installed on some roads, but the thing is, with these deer reflectors, they only work at night, and they don't work during the day, thus making them ineffective during half of the day. Hunting seasons, as we talked about earlier, have actually been limited. There have been not many incentives for hunters to go out and get these deer, which is quite unfortunate. Having so many deer in such a premier hunting place like Hunterdon County, lawmakers have really not pushed the boundaries of hunting. Speaking of lawmakers, political gridlock has often resulted in very little progress. Whenever there's a bill or something going into the government, dealing with deer, it often gets pushed back as it's not deemed important enough and other things are more important, and it just falls down the pecking order and never gets picked up again. So, on to other states. In other states, there have been many proposed solutions. There's a lot of ways you can deal with this. One of the best solutions is coyotes. It makes sense. If you introduce a natural predator into the ecosystem, they will proceed to go on their own way, as nature does. This has worked in the Pacific Northwest and places like Arizona, some other places in the Southwest, where they have a lot of coyotes. Now you may think, you may see that this is not very feasible in New Jersey, one, as we don't have a very high coyote population, and also because of the public backlash. You don't want to be telling people, hey, we're going to be introducing some coyotes into your backyard. You might get a typical response, as you don't see many coyotes here in New Jersey. So, what else can work? Relocation is a great solution. In Texas, they have actually coined it the TTT program, permit program, Trap, Transport, and Transplant. It's been used successfully in Texas, and there have been a lot of studies documenting how the survival rates of the deer and how they have gone on to progress in their new environments. There has actually been a Cherokee Indian reservation in North Carolina that sees the white-tailed deer as their cultural symbol. Maybe a different reason than I'm trying to go for here, but they have also successfully relocated between 25 and 50 white-tailed deer to their reservation in the past couple of years. Now, an interesting example is also in Utah. 28 deer were relocated at a cost of only $200 per deer, which is quite a cost-effective solution, one of the cheapest that I found. Now, besides relocation, the more modern and effective way of going after the deer is called a PZP vaccine. Now, it's an immunocontraceptive. I'm not going to get too scientific, but it has been used with modern medicine successfully in places like Ann Arbor, Michigan. Now, if you remember the map earlier with that showed the highest areas of Lyme disease transmission, Ann Arbor, Michigan was one of the higher densely populated ones because they have a lot of deer. It makes sense. So they actually have, in the past few years, combined with the Humane Society and actually budgeted out specifically $90,000 for a deer control program targeting specific locations, specific deer herds, and injecting them with the immunocontraceptive vaccine. So, the proposal for Hunterdon County. I want to go for a two-pronged approach, the relocation and the sterilization. As you have heard, these last two have been successfully used around the country, and they are modern and effective ways to go after this. I see it as a combination of a short-term and a long-term solution. See, with the vaccine, the deer, once they get injected with the vaccine, it's going to take a couple of years, it's going to take a little while, but eventually down the road we'll see that they are having less and less babies, and which will result in less and less deer. But it won't happen immediately. With the relocation, it's a quicker, more effective way to go after it for the short term. If you take specific deer herds and populations where they are by the roads and by farmlands and places where you really don't want them, and move them to state parks and other forest areas around the state where they can thrive and survive without harming any humans, that's a more effective way to go after it. Now, some people may not know that Hunterdon County actually has 25 state parks. Here are some specific locations that I have found. Up in the northern part, Lebanon County, where I'm from, actually, my home county, there are Mount Point Preserve and Crystal Springs Reserve, as I found two quite large wooded areas that are far enough, especially far enough from Route 31, and they would easily be able to handle more deer. Now, there are also more wooded areas in the western part of the state. For example, Musconetcong Gorge Reserve in Holland Township and Schick Reserve in Alexandria Township. Now, these are also far enough away from the roadways, such as Interstate 78 especially, and they have a lot of wooded areas, a lot of beautiful state parks that these deer could move to and survive and thrive. So for the final part, I'll talk to you about my budget, It's quite simple. It really is. 50-50, 50-50 split here. The sterilization using the PZP vaccine, as I talked about, you could, the average is about $1,000 per deer with a trained person, trained scientist who knows how to do this. The cost for the medicine and the science is about $1,000 per deer. So if you target 50 deer for $1,000 per deer, you have 50,000 on one side. Now on the other side, the relocation to the designated areas in the state parks. Cost varies. Here the cost varies. It depends on how far you're moving the deer, also how many deer you're moving. I have seen figures from anywhere from 200, such as in Utah, as I told you guys earlier, to a little more expensive. So I averaged it out to about $500 per deer. That way you could get 100 deer for $50,000 to show you a grand total of 100,000. Now I think this is a reasonable amount. This way we could combat 150 deer, give them a better life, give us a better life, and we can both live in peace. Now I hope you enjoyed my presentation here. I have really had a good time talking to you guys. And Mr. Matthew Filsinger, I hope you listened. Maybe more than some of the lawmakers in New Jersey, because this is, I think, as I have showed, a problem we can go after together. Thank you.